I don't trust government. That's the thing. And I've seen it. I was predicting it for years, and somebody said to me that I was just being stupid and crazy. And I said, you know what they'll do? They'll get rid of the surcharge for using your cards, but they'll put a surcharge on for using cash.
You know what's really funny?
And I've just finally seen it. I went into a shop, and it was a 2% surcharge if you paid in cash. No surcharge if you used
Wow. Look, I want to change tax a little bit, and not tax, well, tact, whatever. Look, I've got some sort of sailing. I've got a sailing analogy I'm trying to put in here. We're going to tack here about the fact is we talk a lot about freedom here. Cash is a great freedom. And I see from some articles coming through that a lot of Australians are right now hoarding a lot of cash.
It's a really fascinating kind of insight because we've had all this information saying that, well, Australians aren't using much cash at the cash register anymore, right?
Which They're not accepting it.
Well, that, but they also are giving the thing cash is obsolete, so let's go cashless. But a new report has come out to say that most Australians are actually hoarding the stuff. In fact, in June of 2023, it was estimated that most Australians were putting cash aside for a store of wealth or precautionary saving purposes to the sum of $56 billion to $81 billion worth of banknotes in physical notes. And that was accounting for about 55 to 80% of physical bills in circulation, or not in circulation, as you might argue.
Yeah. Sorry, what percentage?
55 to 80%.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Of cash is sitting hoarded by Australians who are nervous about what's going on and having precautionary savings. So, now, I can say that, when you're getting stories, and it's actually happened to me, when banks are freezing your bank accounts, right?
Yep.
You want access to cash, especially if you're faced with an emergency.
Absolutely.
So you can understand why there's a mistrust in banks. You can understand why in pandemic times people are going, hey, we need access to something. So the reports have been really misleading, saying, oh, they're not using as much at the till anymore. Makes you think, doesn't it? Cash is still around.
The
and
other ones
needed.
to take into account, especially with Victoria, and just message from Damien here, Northwest Queensland still has no power, so none of your ATMs are going to work. None of your FPOS machines.
Wow.
Victoria's, how long have they had rolling? What do they call them? Brownouts. So
whatever,
like 4 hours no power during the day to certain areas. So it's one of those things where you have to have cash, but massive amounts of cash on store.
You know what? I know that I don't trust government at all, and I know that people think that I go too far with it, right? But if you have a look at it, it's a promissory note, or it used to be a promissory note that you get gold or silver or something. Now it's just a promissory note of what I don't know. But here's the thing. We saw, like, for example, in India, what did they do? They just went, right, we've demonetized the currency if it's a note more than $20. Bang. So now all these people that have got higher denomination notes, they can't use them. So, I mean, I don't know. Or what you had was a certain time period in which you had to bring the notes back and get smaller denomination notes, so you couldn't hoard them. I don't trust government. That's the thing. And I've seen it. I was predicting it for years, and somebody said to me that I was just being stupid and crazy. And I said, you know what they'll do? They'll get rid of the surcharge for using your cards, but they'll put a surcharge on for using cash.
You know what's really funny?
And I've just finally seen it. I went into a shop, and it was a 2% surcharge if you paid in cash. No surcharge if you used cash.
And then they round up as well on top of
it. Look, I'm joking around by holding this up, but like this
is a fake one. It's Monopoly.
This is so important to have in your pocket at all times, because let's face it, ATMs go down, all that sort of thing. It's
really
real.
Funny?
What's that?
Yeah, but what if government? But Aaron, you didn't respond to what I said. What if government just turns around and says, "Look, all these people are hoarding cash. We don't want them to. We want them to be in the banking system. So therefore, to bring all your cash in and turn it into our new CBDC, and after that, currency will no longer have any value. What are you going to do?"
I'm in trouble. Simple as that, and that's why it's so important for us as citizens to keep cash alive and keep it still flowing in the system. But I mean, look, it's just, there's no perfect answer here, is there?
Well, there is, because even if the bank system turns around and says that that's no longer $50, because we've got all this money that's printed, there's all these people that have hoarded it.
Sure.
The money is an agreement between yourself and me that it's worth what it is.
Yep.
So F the banks, F the government, keep using it.
Well, with the Albanese government, that's worth $48, $46, $44,
So
$42. I mean, that's pretty much how it's going, right?
yeah, but that's all money is. It's an agreement between people using it that is valued at what it's valued. So do we really need the government to tell us that $50 note is still worth $50?
Interesting.
So
point.
you could turn around and say, right, that $50 will get you an hour's worth of labor.
Yeah, okay.
So then within the internal bartering system, like keep the government and all that out of it, you can just go barter with it. Same as in Venezuela when their economy went to shit and they started using gold flakes.
Yep.
So it wasn't the fact that it was made out of gold. It's just the two people making the trade agreed this gold flake is worth what we say it's worth, so we'll do the trade, and this is a signal of closing the deal.
Very much how crypto works.
It's interesting to see how government gets nervous not having control. That's the key word, because I came across a story recently where police had raided some bikie gang,
Right.
that was taking rocks out of some mines out in the gold fields, and were processing it, gold, and they were processing it itself and smelting it and forming it into their own gold, right?
Right.
And that makes them very, very nervous. And they're going on about how, these chemicals could have spelt in the water supply, and that, there's fumes that are going off, and doing all this environmental reasoning. I'm thinking, that's a load of crop.
Of course it is.
It's a load of crop that you're worried about chemicals ending up in the water and smoke and all that sort of stuff.
Mark
You are
McGowan,
concerned about losing control of currency. That's
no.
what you're concerned
The
about.
expert on gold, Mark McGowan, wanted to make sure it was the right purity, right? It's the right quality.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
It's just ridiculous. Exactly. You are spot on. It's about control. Full stop. It's about control. And governments do not like us to actually have control of our own lives.
Yeah, look, I honestly think that there will be a push at some point, which I think cryptos were kind of a symptom of. I think cryptos will change a little bit. And I think you need something that's not just digital in nature, right?
Sure.
I think that there will eventually be a push where we want our currencies to be backed by something. And that something may not necessarily be gold. My personal preference is if you want it to be backed by something, it should be backed by a basket of goods. So it should be backed by a basket of precious metals and commodities, because that would actually also mean that other countries who, we, for example, Australia are mineral rich, New Zealand's not quite as mineral rich as we are, but they're agriculturally rich. They could back their currency with different things so that their currency actually held some value that the country would have the ability to actually pay off. I think that's a good way of doing it. And I actually think that eventually that's exactly what people will say, where, Travis and I will sit down and say, okay, well, look, we've just traded with each other. This represents an hour of labor. But, when you go to the doctor might say, well, look, my hour of labor is actually worth 5 of your hours of labor or something.
Sure.
That sort of thing. I actually think that would be a good alternative. I don't know exactly how that would work. But I think that people don't want to see the debasing of their currency any further. The ability for government to just create currency out of nothing and make us all poorer as a result. People are jack of this. People are really sick of it, and people are getting very worried about the government encroaching on one of the biggest appeals of digital currencies and bitcoins and things like that, cryptos, was that government wasn't involved. It was completely decentralized. Now government wants to get involved. And government's already involved in the on-ramp, off-ramp. So, what do you do? I think that we're primed for there to be some sort of change, and it's going to be driven by the majority of people, in my view.
It's interesting, the questionnaires that come out from an accountant asking, will we have to do accounting for crypto accounts? Oh, my goodness. They want to know, 1, do you have crypto? 2, were you trading it? 3, did you receive any goods or services paid for by customers in crypto?
Right.
Where is the crypto stored, which is a security issue to release that kind of information.
Yes, it is.
It's an interrogation in terms of what they're forcing the accountants to ask their clients.
Well, yeah.
And the accountants are there to represent their clients and minimize their tax, not the other way around.
Well, that's right. It's the government outsourcing to the accountants to do their work.
They're doing it with the banks. And they're trying to make the accountants do it now. They're wanting the lawyers to do it. It's just crazy.
That's right.
So,
well, what I would suggest, and I don't know much about crypto, is on the day that your form is filled out by the accountant, move all your crypto into whatever, like a wallet that you don't use very much, with a company you don't use very much. Say, all right, that's where it's stored. That's where it is stored, and then move it away. I don't know if that's legal or not, but to hell with the government. Why should they know all this? They should. I don't have any crypto, but Why should they know what I've got, where I've got it? I mean, would you like to know where I keep my socks in my house? I mean, most people keep them in their drawer, but would you like to know
they
which
already
one of my
know.
socks are in? I mean,
They've been watching you.
Get out of my house. Get out of my life. Leave me alone. I'll be okay. Thank you very much.
So a lot of people, I get asked this question all the time. Do I know a good crypto accountant? And I can't say whether they're good or not, but there is one accountant I know of. So I'm just going to put the link into the chat here for it.
Well, to be honest, yeah, do that. And also, again,
it's wealthsafe.com.au. That's where you get the details.
Oh,
They're based out
fantastic.
of
Okay,
Victoria.
Yeah, all right.
Vina is amazing. She's awesome.
Have a word with
and she
Orange Brick
really
Road as
knows
well.
her shit.
Have a word with Brandon at Orange Brick Road as well, because obviously he would be very well switched on with this.
Yeah, Brandon, chuck a comment in the chat if you know of any good accountants as well that are actually, because I find accountants are sort of like doctors. Like some are good, they know about ears, but they don't have a clue about your butthole. And I find accountants are the same. Some know how to do cheap tax returns, but you ask them to do a depreciation schedule for an investment property, they have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
So they deal with certain
You've
areas.
got to find the right team for the right project.
Definitely.
I mean, if you're going to go into agriculture or something like that, you've got to find an accountant who knows farming.
That's like anything. That's like anything Derek was saying before, that you'd never be too proud to ask for help. I had a bit of an issue over the last few weeks. I just wasn't too sure about. Rang Derek a few times. Like, Derek, what do you think of this? And then Derek said, "Oh, look, I'm a little bit out of touch now. But I remember before there was a this and a that and I just went, oh, to hell with this." And so we conference called one of our friends who actually works in that specialty, and he walked me through it and talked me through it. And then another one of our friends sorted out what I needed to sort it out, and I didn't have to deal with it. And look, could I have learned it? Yeah, I could have, but I can't be bothered because I can make a phone call and I know somebody who can just tell me the answers. So, and I think that's what's great. Like Derek and I talk to each other all the time, trading ideas. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? So, which, by the way, Derek, while I was on my mind, that last share that I actually talked to all three of you guys about late last year is up 50% as of the close on Friday. Just so you know.
Sounds like a winner.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the other thing is, this is just my personal philosophy, especially when I go to events and things like this. I love being the dumbest person in the room because it means I've got the most to learn. So I think
it's also not difficult for you, right, Travis?
All the time. It's a little bit challenging when I'm in the room with Aaron.
Oh, look, honestly.